This is begleri, a version of this once spun in the smoky cafes of Greece by some very streetwise but shady people. Today it's more than a fidget toy. It's a tool to keep you calm, sharpen your skills, and also give you a bit of style. However, I'm going to show you how to make one with 2 colors for twice the style and 0 nonsense. That math makes sense, right? The monkey's fist version of this iconic and rapidly growing in popularity skill toy isn't new to this channel, but this 2-color variation is. That means for you begleri fans, you have another way to further customize your favorite pocket toy. And as I mentioned, by making one of these, you'll be partaking in a hobby that was once a common practice for a very shady but interesting group of people. But more on that later. So to make our 2-color monkey's fist begleri, we're going to be using Paracord, the multi-purpose nylon rope that isn't just for survival bracelets or military parachutes anymore. And this cord is from none other than paracordweavers.com, and we have begleri kits available for everything you need, including our steel ball bearings, which are needed for cores of the monkey's fist to give them weight. If you don't have any and you don't want to get our kits, that's totally fine. You can use standard size marbles, which will still work, but they won't be as heavy, so not entirely ideal. The original way of making monkey's fist begleri was quite simple, as we just have 2 monkey's fist knots at the end of each line of paracord. And originally I thought I could accomplish this 2-color version by starting a monkey's fist 1/3 of the way and then just joining a new piece of paracord for the rest. But with the way a begleri like this is made, that only works on one side. When you try to do that same thing on the other, it just doesn't work. Now it took me a couple of tries to figure out what method would work best for incorporating these 2 colors, and this is what I came up with. Now as I show you the method, which involves 2 separate strands for the monkey's fist, let me tell you a bit more about the begleri. Greek in origin, begleri actually started as something more significant, which was a komboloi or string of multiple beads on a string. These were carried around and held in the hand more than worn, as the user would fidget and manipulate the beads to pass the time and keep the hands busy, which is why they were often referred to as worry beads. Over time, the longer strands of beads were pared down and minimized to a simple set of 2 beads on 1 string. And if you go to places like Greece, you'll be able to find many types of beautiful sets of komboloi and begleri made out of exotic materials and stones. However, in today's age, companies from people like my friend Matt over at Around Square have made modern iterations of this age-old toy from stainless steel and titanium amongst other things. In fact, he made a begleri design named after a very interesting group of people that helped the begleri proliferate through Greek history. Which is cool and all, but what is it about these shady people and what did they have to do with begleri? Well, these people were known as the Mangas. The Mangas were primarily a group of working class men that were part of a somewhat shady subculture. And you know what, I'll just come out and say it. They were basically troublemakers. They were prevalent in the late 1800s to the mid 1900s. And I'm just going to quote Matt over at Around Square here because he's an expert on this matter more than I. So, the Mangas were known as a group to stay away from. They would most likely leave you alone, but they were folks you should nonetheless take very seriously. They were a tough bunch. They were wrapped up in all sorts of mischief, while at the same time being celebrated as folk heroes in song and story. Despite associations with crime and violence, the Mangas were also known for a distinctive sense of integrity as well as their stability and reliability. While there are associations with criminal activity, the Mangas also worked as bouncers in gambling establishments and were even hired for protection during political rallies and other large public events. So yeah, they were some very interesting people. And what do interesting people do? Well, they stand around and do cool stuff. Imagine this guy here, standing at a street corner with his one sleeve hanging there while he plays with a begleri in one hand and smokes a cigarette in the other, all while his buddies are playing Greek rebetiko music. I wish I was that cool. While the Mangas didn't invent begleri, they definitely had a hand in making it cool. But in this day and age, it's not just cool, it's fun and a great tool for relaxation and even bad habit breaking. Learning about all of this myself just added another layer of appreciation I have for this age-old skill toy. That all being said, did you know you can be part of an equally interesting, albeit non-shady group of people by making and playing with a begleri? And that group is simply the begleri community. In case you weren't aware, because of people like Matt at Around Square, this community of slingers and players is growing every day. And honestly, you won't believe what some people out there are capable of. I myself, I'm just okay. But some of the tricks that people can pull off out there are nothing short of mind-boggling. But don't let that intimidate you if you're a beginner. The whole point is just to have fun. And also, you don't need to have an Around Square set either. Any begleri, monkey's fist, or hex nuts are cool too. So if you really want to see what these 2 beads on a string are capable of, just search #begleri on Instagram and prepare to be amazed. Quick note about the measurement here. Most players play long game, and a great way for measuring the joiner cord length is to hold one monkey's fist in mid grip, and then you wrap around the back of your fingers and then twice around the index. And that distance can usually be averaged out to about 6 to 6¼ inches, which is really long, I know. And as for our 2-color version, well, it's not that much harder than the single color. I'd say the trickiest part is melting and tucking in the snipped ends, but if that's too hard, you can always just snip and melt them where they are and just press down on them. It won't look as clean, but it'll still work. Now, I'm absolutely in love with this 2-color variation, and I hope you are too. And if you've stuck around this long, you get a reward. Here's a quick tutorial for my favorite repeater combo. You start off in high grip, rebound off the thumb, fling one of the beads forwards, do a slip, double finger roll around the middle and ring finger, followed by a slip, and that's one complete pass around by itself. And then we end up in this spring grip, where one bead is in low and the other lands back in high grip. Over the thumb for tension, you spring it forward and you just rinse and repeat. Happy slinging!